Welcome to Health Coach for Women. Intentional living for more happiness and fulfillment in your everyday life with your host, Marsha Roopchand-Walker. Join Marsha as she shares her own personal wellness journey, as well as stories from our guests that will enlighten and inspire you to move towards better health and happiness. Now, here's your host, Marsha Roopchand-Walker.
Welcome to another episode of Health Coach for Women, a podcast where we explore alternative and holistic solutions for better health and wellness. And I am your host, Marsha. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'll be talking to you about an interesting topic that many or some of you may experience each morning, and that is flex and flow, conquering stiff joints each morning. But before I get started, please go ahead and hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Okay, how many of you wake up in the morning with stiff joints? You know, where you just feel stiff in the morning. Have you ever experienced that? I know I have. Okay, so that's what I'll be talking to you about, explaining basically how you can manage those stiff joints, how you can conquer the stiff joints in the morning. And first of all, why do we even get it? Right? So some natural things is basically as we age, you know, our cartilage tends to wear down over time. And so that in itself reduces the flexibility in our joints. But also it could be due to inactivity. While we get stiff joints, it could also stem from basically if you have RA, rheumatoid arthritis, or osteoarthritis, you know, you can experience stiffness in the joints, right? And so with the stiffness comes pain, right? And with the pain comes inflammation. So I want to talk about also overuse or strain in the joints. Sometimes we can overuse it, right? Whether we did some type of strenuous workout or we did a lot of walking, just a lot of strenuous activity, and being on our feet for long periods of time can affect our joints, as well as sitting for long periods of time, right? As well as sitting, and dehydration is another cause for stiffness in the joints. Right? Dehydration, if you don't drink a lot of fluids, if you don't drink enough water, these things can happen. And of course, there are other issues as well, you know. But I just wanted to cover that of some of the reasons of why we experience those stiff joints that we have. So what can we do to minimize, right? Or even try to minimize and reduce or lessen our stiff joints? Well, some things that we can do is in the morning, we can stretch, right? We can try stretching our joints and flexing our knees, flexing it out. That's some of the things that we can do. Another thing you can do is try to hydrate yourself. What I like to do is before I go to bed, I try to have some tea before I go to bed. Sometimes it could be some warm water. If you're going to drink water, I would suggest room temperature water. Okay, so room temperature water, or for me, I like to have, or sometimes I do both. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll have some tea, some ginger turmeric tea, along with green tea. I like to combine my tea. And I'll sip on that before I go to bed. And not only does it help with getting me more relaxed for bed, preparing me for bed and getting me more relaxed, it also helps you to have less stiffness in the joints. So when you wake up in the morning, for me, I don't experience stiffness in the knees, right? But if I go without it, having my tea or doing the things that I'm supposed to do, I will experience it, right? So tea is one option that you can do. You can try having tea or room temperature water, making sure you're hydrated. I know some people hate getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I hate that sleep interruption. But sometimes I can sleep right through the night. And if I do get up, it is probably just one time. And that's why I try to make sure that I use the bathroom before I go to bed. Okay. So another thing is what we can do is, what's another thing we do? I mentioned stretching, right? I mentioned exercising the feet, exercising the movement, flexing the feet, flexing your joints, your knees, stretching in the morning, which also helps with the lower back, stretching your feet. Another thing we can do is making sure that we are making sure that we are having the proper foods, right? Having the proper foods, which entails, remember, you have to have your omega-3s, which is good for you, which also helps with inflammation. But you also need to avoid having too much of omega-6s. Okay, you also need to avoid having too much of omega-6s. So I wanted to get into that. So as we know that the omega-6s, right, too much of omega-6 causes inflammation. And so there's many of foods that contain omega-6s, including some of your oils that you may have at home, right? So like vegetable oil. Vegetable oil is one that contains omega-6s in it, high in omega-6, very inflammatory, as well as a few others. And I mentioned this before on a few previous podcasts that I've mentioned. Now, let's go back now. I went over and I discussed with you that the things that you do as far as the stiffness in your joints was making sure you're hydrated, making sure that you stretch in the morning, do some leg kickouts, right, to help bend the knees, to bend the joints, right? But you want to make sure that you're, as I mentioned before, not sitting for long periods of time at work, especially when you're traveling. Especially for people who have jobs as truck drivers and bus drivers. And when you're traveling for long periods of time, it can affect your joints, right? As well as your hips, right? Some people don't know that for truck drivers too, as well as your hips as when you get older. So we got to do better with the things that we know. Okay, so we got to do better with the things that we know. But again, those omega-6s, we need to make sure that we are having more omega-3s than omega-6. And omega-3s, which you can find in your foods such as salmon, right? If you eat fish, or you can also find omega-3. You can take your omega-3 supplements, and you can use fish oil but if you're vegan, you may not want to use fish oil. You can just use what the fish eat, which is the algae, right? What they eat that contains the omega-3s, which you can find as supplements as well. They do have plant-based omega-3 plant-based supplements that you can take. So you want to make sure that you do that. All right. So I want to go over, I made sure I had notes that I took down here, and I want to make sure that I go over all of them with you. And so what happens is the body, when we experience inflammation, the body produces this protein in the liver, which is CRP, which is the C-reactive protein. And it's produced in the liver, as I said. And so when this happens, when your body is experiencing this pain and inflammation, this protein is produced, right? And so it's caused by different things such as infections and chronic conditions, such as RA and osteoarthritis. So that is why we have to try to keep these things down in order to avoid experiencing joint pain and stiffness in the morning. So you want to have some rituals, right? But again, diet and nutrition is important. Okay, and diet and nutrition is important, and so you want to make sure that you have those omega-3s. You want to make sure you have more omega-3 than more omega-6s. So you want to make sure you pay attention and read your labels. So what else could be causing your stiffness, right? What else could be causing your stiffness? Again, we talked about the collagen, right? And the in the joints, the cartilage could be wearing down, right? The cartilage could be wearing down. And so when you experience that and you're always on the move, where your joints is being impacted, where they become inflamed. Even people in healthcare, like nurses and nursing staff, nursing healthcare professionals, where they're always on their feet. Sometimes their knees as well as their ankles can bother them, right? And so that's why we always recommend wearing TED holes, right, to protect our knees, or those ACE bandage to protect our joints, because we're on our feet so much. We're on our feet, and it can impact the knee joints as well as the ankle and feet. If you have flat feet, it can affect the area of where your arches are. This can all come from being on your feet for long periods of time. So we want to do what we can to protect it, right? So ACE wraps are good, or even the ones that you just pull up, yet you don't have to wrap on. You can just pull up and to protect the knees. It helps with the movement. It helps, and also helps with the pain. Okay, it also helps with the pain wearing those wraps that's made specifically for people who may have arthritis or experience chronic joint pain, or just to avoid getting the pain in the knees when you work in those type of environments. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to mention, right, your fruits and vegetables. You know, I say this all the time. I talk about your fruits and vegetables, maintaining good health, your greens, plenty of fruits, the proper fruits and vegetables that will keep you healthy, vitamin C. So basically, all of your cruciferous vegetables are good for you, right? Broccoli, which I love broccoli. I'm probably going to have some broccoli tonight now that I think about it. Broccoli, spinach, kale. I mean, I love all of those vegetables, but cruciferous vegetables are definitely good for you. I love cauliflower. I enjoy that a lot as well. There's so many vegetables that I just love. Some I'm not that fond of, but I'll eat it anyway. Okay. But I want to talk to you about something specifically that can help you, that has many benefits, and that is glutathione. And some of you may have heard it before. Glutathione is very good for you. It is a great antioxidant and helps with preventing and reducing oxidative stress. And there's plenty of studies on it, right? There's plenty of studies on glutathione. You just have to do your own research on it, where glutathione is so beneficial for you and can help you in so many ways as far as your health, especially when we live in this toxic environment, right? And right now I'm here in New York City because my mom is in the hospital and I had to be here. But toxicity everywhere, right? And not just here. I'm not just saying here in New York City, but in LA and all of these high traffic, high polluted areas. You're going to experience just the air quality is not good, right? The air quality. So you got to factor in so many things that we breathe in every day that cause toxin. And I'm not specifically at this moment talking about specifically like why we have the joint pain, but I'm just speaking in general about all the toxic chemicals that we ingest every day, where it could be in our food, right, with pesticides, if we're not using organic produce, in the air we breathe, gas emissions, air quality is poor. So many things. So, and also glutathione. I recommend glutathione. Very good for you. It helps with memory loss, Parkinson's, dementia, anxiety, depression, all of these things. Glutathione is highly recommended, and especially if people who have experienced taking medications, okay? And so what happens is your glutathione is produced by the liver, but when it's impacted where you have experienced an infection or taken medication, it's decreased, right? And so it cannot produce as well, as much as normally. In aging, all of these things is impacted by. But I want you to hear something. I want you to hear something from this doctor and hear what he has to say about it. Okay? I want you to hear about what he has to say about glutathione.
So I wanted to talk about glutathione. It's one of the most powerful antioxidants in your body. Your body makes it, and you can also get it from your diet. Because it's a sulfur compound, it's high in foods that are high in sulfur, like cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, radishes, all the cruciferous vegetables, okay? So glutathione helps prevent the damage to your cells. It has anti-aging properties. It helps detoxify xenobiotics or chemicals in the environment. I mean, every year we have like thousands of new chemicals in the food chain, in your environment, in your lawn. Let's say you're a golfer, you're going to be exposed to, the chemicals on the grass. So you're constantly being exposed living on planet Earth. So over time, glutathione gets depleted when you get older, when you get stressed out, when you get infections, when you consume junk food, when you eat sugar, when you're exposed to a lot of pollution, and if you had an infection. Okay, so over time it gets depleted. So when to take this, that's the question. Well, let's say you're on medication right now, and that's going to create some cellular damage. I would highly recommend taking it if you're on a medication. Like a lot of people are on a lot of medications. Or you're in an environment, there's a lot of pollution. Like last weekend I went to LA and I couldn't believe the air quality was so bad. I mean, I could feel it in my breathing. So if you live in LA, I would definitely consume more glutathione or start consuming the cruciferous vegetables. Or if you want to get a concentrated version, you could do it in a pill form as well. So you want to start increasing this in your diet. So you'd also want to take it if you experience more stress in your life, if you have some disease, let's say you have Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or diabetes or any of those diseases, or chronic inflammatory diseases or rheumatoid arthritis. This is going to really help you counter those effects. Or let's say radiation. Radiation can destroy your cells. Let's say you're a pilot or you fly a lot in high altitudes. You're going to get exposure to more radiation. Or you had a lot of x-rays. I was an x-ray tech before I was a chiropractor. I used to go in nursing homes and take x-rays, and I would never, and I know this is bad, I would never wear a shield. I would just take an x-ray like a foot away, because at nursing homes, you have people that couldn't hold their breath. So I had to be really tricky to come in there real fast and catch an exhalation to get the chest x-ray, or there'd be movement. So I didn't have time to prepare. I probably should have, but I didn't. But I was exposed to radiation. So this is something that I consume on a regular basis that is actually, I know it's helped me. Or you're exposed to mold. So it's very important to take this to slow down the damage to your cells. All right? Thanks for watching.
I hope Dr. Berg's insight on glutathione gave you a little bit more information, provided with you with much more information. And see, I'm aware of this and glutathione. But sometimes some people, they need to hear it from a doctor. And so that's why I played that clip so you can see for yourself, about glutathione. I've been into my journey on health for over 5, 6, maybe 7 or 8 more years now. So, I'm always reading and learning and studying, right? Not just for myself, but for my audience, right? For the people that I work with, for the people that I'm helping. And so it's important for me to stay on track and to stay up to date with what's going on, right? And so as you heard Dr. Berg mention, glutathione is good for so many things, and also helps to detoxify heavy metals out of the body. He didn't mention that, but glutathione also helps to detoxify heavy metals out of the body. Okay. So this episode is going to be rather short, simply because, I am in the process of visiting my mom, taking her to, checking up with her, making sure that she's okay in the hospital, and being there for her. So But I am hoping that we will really start to pay attention to our bodies, start to listen to our bodies and listen to what it's saying, right? And being able to decipher and make better choices for ourselves. I'm always saying that, talking about choices, right? Because when you're provided with information, you have the ability to decide or choose. Now, choice and decisions are two different things. But choices gives you options, but making a decision is knowing that that is it and that is all, right? There is no other options, right? But it's up to you to decide or to choose what it is that you want to do with the information that you receive. So we got to take better care of our health, all right? And so remember, not all doctors are into holistic health, not because they don't know. Some of them, they just aren't aware. They only go by some of the things that they were taught in school, which is really to mask symptoms. Remember that, guys. When they're in school, they learn to mask symptoms. When you find doctors who are into holistic health and naturopath medicine, they went and studied that elsewhere. That's not incorporated in the regular traditional schools for doctors. They learn to prescribe medicine that masks symptoms. I want you to remember that. It's so important for you to remember, unless you're dealing with someone who is a naturopath, again, a holistic practitioner, someone who studied nutrition. Remember, they only get, I don't even know if they get 2 hours of nutrition. I can't say for sure, but I know that they don't learn much in nutrition when they go to school, which I think every health professional should learn, should study health, should know nutrition, right? But I just wanted to give you this information. Please do the best you can to manage and take care of your health. Our experience back in 2020 should have taught us a lesson that health is a priority, and I would choose health over wealth any day. All right. But, I did forget to go over my quote for today, and I had it, but now I don't have it anymore. So I'm just going to, I say today's quote is health is wealth. And that's it. And that's by whoever made that quote. But I had a different quote, but it's not here. I removed it. So, all right. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this podcast. And be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And keep your head up. Stay positive. I'm keeping my head up. I'm staying positive. I'm optimistic about my mom and her health. And extend your prayers, okay? And thank you so much. May you all be safe and be healthy. Bye for now.
If you are struggling with health issues like chronic pain, being held back by past traumas, or feeling overwhelmed and hopeless, please know there is hope. There is help. Transcendence, a woman's guide to healing and self-love for better health, happiness, and abundance, is a blueprint to help you get your life back and reclaim your health. Within its pages, you'll learn how to elevate your existence by shifting your mindset toward the positive, focusing your energy on what's really important, using gratitude to feel deep appreciation, changing your gene expression through epigenetics, building resilience, and living in a state of flow, feeling love overflow within. Go beyond an ordinary life. Transcend. Buy it now.
Thank you so much for listening to Health Coach for Women with your host, Marsha Roopchand-Walker. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to rate, subscribe, and review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Until next time.